You need to think about healthy food as being the reward, healthy food as being indulgent and satisfying and just enough. And when you think of healthy food in that way, it's going to help you go through the holiday season with all the crap and the junk and the treats and the peer pressure that's around you, and it's going to let you go through it and navigate it in a successful way.
Welcome to the Dr. Ashley Show.
The holidays are here. I can't believe it. Time goes by so fast. And they can be a really fun, great time, but they can also be a really stressful time, especially when it comes to dropping weight or just keeping the weight off that you've already dropped. And I get questions from people all the time as to what my Thanksgiving looks like. What do I eat? Do I eat mashed potatoes? Do I eat mac and cheese? And how do I continue to achieve my health goals through the holidays? So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give you a sneak peek as to what my Thanksgiving day and meal and table looks like. And I want to provide you with lots of different recipes and tips so that you can get through your holiday successfully. So a little bit about me, if you don't know where I come from, I was a professional ballet dancer back in the day. And my body always struggled to achieve what it needed to for the sport. And, Thanksgiving and Christmas, that's what I celebrate, are always, when I was dancing, a challenging holiday because I was always doing the Nutcracker. And I performed in over 400 Nutcrackers all across the country. And I was given maybe around Thanksgiving the holiday 2-3 days to come home and enjoy my family. And so at that time, I was always performing in the Nutcracker, and I had really specific weight goals. And I couldn't go home and gain a whole bunch of weight and then come back and fit in my snowflake tutu. I just couldn't do it. And so I had to hit specific goals. And my holidays were a disaster because that was before I understood the science of losing weight and keeping it off and just healthy nutrition overall. And so what I did during the holidays when I was in my dancing career is I would come home and I would know that I needed to expend a lot of calories and I needed to eat less. At least that's what I thought I needed to do because we're always told that you need to move more and eat less. So I remember I purchased at Walmart a specific suit that you wear that makes you sweat. It's like gray. It looked like an astronaut suit. And I would get in there and then I'd walk on the treadmill or I'd get on the elliptical machine. And I would just try to burn as many calories as I could, and I would sweat like crazy in there. And then I thought, well, I don't want to eat that many calories, so I don't want to pack on the pounds so I can still fit in my tutu. So I would not eat throughout the day, and then I would just wait for that meal. And that meal at the time, I was so starving because I had worked out all day, and I would end up overeating and binging on all the crap foods that were available because I felt like I was holding myself back. And then I would knock myself out of any sort of fat burn. And so the next day I would have crazy cravings and I felt like all of my willpower was gone and I would overeat and I would eventually and ultimately go back to my professional ballet company and the tutu would fit really, really uncomfortably because I had packed on some weight, even if it wasn't necessarily fat weight or it was water or whatever it was and I was bloated, but it was really uncomfortable, especially when I was the Arabian princess and I had to show my midriff. It was serious times. And so that was before I understood the science. I ended up having to let go of my dancing career primarily because my body just couldn't handle it anymore. I obviously didn't treat it well back in the day. And once I went and earned my PhD in sports nutrition and chronic disease, became a registered dietitian, flipped all of the nutrition research upside down and actually learned what we need to do to drop weight in a healthy, sustainable way and keep it off, I understood what I needed to do through the holidays as well. And now I am calm and confident as I enter into the holiday season. I know that I'm going to maintain the weight that I want to maintain and my overall health and keep my stress levels where they need to be. And that is the information that I want to pass along to you today. So what I want you to understand is that you still get to enjoy the foods that you love this holiday season. It's about making really small shifts to your traditional meal that will make big changes in your body physiology that will support you reaching and hitting your goals. So I want you to also remember that you need to focus on mindset this holiday season. And I talk a lot about mindset in my previous episodes, but one in particular, I talk about the mindset you need to have around eating healthy food. And that mindset has to come out this season to get you through it in a successful manner. And what I mean by that is you need to think about healthy food as being the reward, healthy food as being indulgent and satisfying and just enough. And when you think of healthy food in that way, it's going to help you go through the holiday season with all the crap and the junk and the treats and the peer pressure that's around you, and it's going to let you go through it and navigate it in a successful way. So the first thing in general that I want you to be aware of is that it's not about skipping meals. Don't do what I do. There's no skipping meals, there's no chronic exercise, and there's no more binging. So if that has been you in your previous past, just like it was for me, you're going to let that go and follow me through the day of Thanksgiving as an example. So number one, the first meal that you need to eat needs to be protein forward. So this is your first meal of the day. In general, I don't want you to change your consistent eating schedule from a normal day. So if you generally eat breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning, then you're still going to eat breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning on Thanksgiving. I generally don't eat breakfast in the early morning. I'm not hungry. So the first thing that I consume is about 30 ounces of water with a squeeze of lemon in there. And then I get some electrolytes in the second glass of water that I drink. And then my next thing is going to be coffee with heavy cream. Heavy cream's my favorite food, and it just keeps me going a little bit. It keeps me full, and I'm just not generally a hungry person in the morning. So my first meal of the day on most days is going to be around 10 to 11, and I make sure that I get about 30 grams of protein with that meal. And so that's what I encourage you to do, is to stick with your consistent schedule. Don't skip meals like I did it in the past and think you're going to get all of your calories with your Thanksgiving meal. It's just not going to work out in a successful way. And make sure that that first meal you get whenever you normally eat is about 30 grams of protein. So that for you might be eggs with bacon. It could be a veggie frittata. That's usually something that I would eat on the morning around 10, 11 for Thanksgiving. The next thing is that you're going to be active, but you're not going to be active in a crazy way like I was with my astronaut spacesuit on the treadmill. So what I usually like to do is make sure that I get outside. I want to make sure that I see the sun and I breathe fresh air, and I want to be with those I love and my family, friends. And generally we go for some kind of hike or some kind of walk. Everyone is at their different physical fitness levels. So we don't do anything wild. If you're used to doing something wild and you enjoy it, like a turkey trot or something, a marathon that's Thanksgiving family related, then go for it if it's your usual consistency, but don't feel like you've got to do something to burn calories. And then generally what I do on my own is I lift something heavy. And the reason why is because lifting weights helps to encourage glucose uptake from the cells. And generally on Thanksgiving, I probably eat more carbs than I generally do on a normal given day. And so I just want to make sure that my muscles are ready to accept that carb load that I'm going to be giving it during that delicious meal. So for you, if you can lift something heavy before the biggest meal of the day, it could benefit you. And then you want to make sure that you walk after your biggest meal. Walking, there's been a recent study that showed that when people walk after dinner, their blood glucose actually drops by 33%. That is huge. And it's just like a 15-minute walk, and it doesn't have to be anything wild. So make sure that you do something active through the day just to get your body and your metabolism going, but it doesn't have to be anything wild. So now we get into the Thanksgiving meal. And for me, it's pretty traditional. And then I have some really delicious substitutes that I use in place for some traditional dishes that you know of. And if you are interested in getting all the recipes of the foods that I'm going to go through, click the link in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube, because we've got a free PhD Thanksgiving holiday recipe guide. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform, then come over to YouTube and click on the link so that you can get all of these really great recipes. So the first thing are appetizers. We always have some appetizers out and about, and I don't eat a ton of them, but I do enjoy some of it. One of my favorite foods besides heavy cream is a charcuterie board. I just really love anything about a charcuterie board. So If you are watching this on YouTube, in the comments below, if you like charcuterie boards, let me know and tell me what you put on your board, because I always love to get creative ideas. In general, mine might be kind of traditional, a little bit boring, but I really love prosciutto and salami and all of those cured meats. I love olives. My 4-year-old daughter loves olives, so she makes sure they're all over there. Cheese is really delicious, so we'll have that with it. And then sometimes we'll have some crackers on there. Nut-thin crackers are my favorite. I'm a huge fan of mustard, and local to Asheville is a brand called Lusty Monk. So usually we'll get some of the Lusty Monk mustard, and then we might have some deviled eggs or some meatballs. And by meatballs, I'm not talking about the ones that my husband's side of the family makes in Louisville, which is meatballs soaked in grape jelly. So not talking about the grape jelly soaked meatballs out there for all of you who come from Kentucky, but I'm talking about regular meatballs that don't have sugar in them. And that's what appetizers look like for us and my family. Then we get to beverages. What are we going to drink on Thanksgiving? And I know a lot of you drink alcohol, and I used to drink a decent amount of alcohol, but now my husband doesn't drink any, and I don't really tolerate it, overcoming chronic Lyme disease. It doesn't do my neurological system any good, but sometimes I like to enjoy a little. So I focus on, if I do have any, maybe a glass of dry red wine. And so the deal is that one shot stops fat burn for about 5 to 8 hours, and anything more than one shot is going to blunt fat burn exponentially. So if your goal is to drop weight, then it's not going to be best to drink a whole bunch of alcohol. But a glass of dry red wine, 1 glass, should be fine on a special celebration. My family also likes Irish coffee. And so how they make this is they'll put black coffee in a cup, and then they use Jameson whiskey, and then they take heavy cream and blend it and froth it with a little bit of vanilla extract, no sugar, and they put a dollop of that on top of the Irish cream. So no sugar in there, and it's pretty delicious. And I'll usually have a few sips of one of my family members because I can't even handle a whole one. I can't even handle regular coffee. I'm such a lightweight here talking to you. Now, the best bet is you just letting go of alcohol completely if you're open to it on this day of celebration. And if that's the case, then sparkling water is a great option. You can put some lemon and lime in there. In the recipe link down below, if you're watching this on YouTube, we've got some mocktail ideas that you can do. We like kombucha in our family, and we'll get one of the lower sugar options, and that's pretty delicious. And then my husband likes dram, and it has some CBD in it. It is pretty expensive. I think it's like $4 for a can, but it's cheaper than a nice bottle of wine, and for special celebrations, he might enjoy it. So there we go on beverages. Let's dive into the food. So we always have some kind of protein source like turkey or prime rib. We usually alternate through it, and I'll have gravy with it. I'm not a huge gravy fan, so I might do like 2 spoonfuls or so. And yeah, we might make it with the flour. My kids and I don't deal well with a lot of gluten, so we might use gluten-free flour or a tapioca starch to thicken it. But whatever, if you don't just drink the gravy, then however you want to make it, it should be fine. We might do mashed cauliflower with butter and cream instead of mashed potatoes. I don't love mashed potatoes. They're not my most favorite food. My dad, though, he does love mashed potatoes, so we always have a little bowl for him, and he'll enjoy that. And then for all the rest of us, we really liked mashed cauliflower as our mashed potato-like thing. We will make cream spinach. We might make a cold asparagus salad, and this comes from the Doyle cookbook, and my maiden name is Doyle. We've got some Irish in us, hence the Irish coffee choice. But this recipe, basically you parboil asparagus, so you cook it just to the point where it's tender, and then you drop it in an ice bath. Pull it out of the ice bath, put it in this whatever container cooking dish that you like, and then pour soy sauce over it and some apple cider vinegar. And then it does call for sugar. We usually use some monk fruit, and then toast some walnuts in the toaster and put the walnuts in there and let it all soak for a few hours, and then serve it cold. And it's really delicious. We also serve that on Easter often. We'll make green bean casserole, and we'll put mushrooms in it and those little broiler onions I love. And then we put Parmesan cheese on top of it. We don't use the fried green onions. I have heard from a lot of clients that they like to put crumbled up pork rinds on top instead of the fried onions. So that could be an option for you. We like roasted Brussels sprouts, and we'll quarter them and roast them at a high temperature. And we'll usually put balsamic vinegar on top of it while roasting. And if you make a green, like green leafy veggies or Brussels sprouts, and you add an acid to it, it actually cuts the bitterness to it. So whenever you make greens, think about what kind of acid. And when I mean acid, I mean something like a vinegar. We always make sausage and cauliflower stuffing, and it's really delicious. Again, the link is below if you're watching this on YouTube to that recipe. And then again, my dad is more traditional, so we'll make a little thing of regular stuffing. And for me, I do like regular stuffing, so I might have some of that on my plate with the rest of the options that we talked about. If we make sweet potato, we're going to roast a regular sweet potato. We don't do the stuff with the syrup and the brown sugar and the marshmallow on it. That is like a major treat dessert. And if that's important to you, enjoy it. But just recognize that if you have the eggnog drink, the mac and cheese, the biscuits, the sweet potato thing, and then you've got lots of treats, like it's just going to be massive and you're not going to hit your goals. So I always suggest that you pick 1 to 2 healthy kind of substitutions that I've got here, and then pick 1 to 2 things that you're really going to enjoy, that your inner child can be like, woohoo, this is the holiday, I'm enjoying this. And then no guilt. Just eat the darn thing and enjoy it, but go in with a plan, So let's see. And then for grains, we don't eat grains in general. They just don't serve us. None of us really love it. If the kids really want a biscuit or something, I might make an almond flour biscuit or just a biscuit with regular flour or gluten-free flour, and they enjoy it with butter and honey or butter and jam on it. So that's basically what our Thanksgiving dinner looks like. For dessert, we might make a regular pumpkin pie. And for me, the things I indulge in would be a little bit of stuffing and a slice of pumpkin pie. And my slice is probably smaller than the average person's slice of pumpkin pie, but my tolerance to it and the amount I need is pretty small. We also, in the link below for the recipes, have a really great pumpkin pie custard that is PhD weight loss approved. So if pumpkin pie is not super important to you, or the custard is a good helpful substitute, then you could do that. We also like to take frozen berries, heat them up in a pan, add some vanilla extract, and then top it with that whipped cream that I talked about when I was discussing Irish coffees. So we, again, whip the heavy cream with vanilla extract and no sugar and put that on top of the hot berries. And that is really delicious too. And that's all that we need. So obviously that's a lot of food. We might not cook all of it, but that's an idea of what the Thanksgiving looks like for us. And then just remembering some healthy tips of going for a walk after you eat to drop that blood sugar down by 33% potentially. So here are the steps that I encourage you to do, and I alluded to them earlier, but I want to summarize for you so you know what to do when this holiday hits for you. Number 1 is plan out your menu and pick 1 to 2 things that might not be quote unquote healthy, but something that kind of makes or breaks the holiday, if that's the case as to how you look at food. So plan what you're going to enjoy and then enjoy it with no guilt. Number 2 is incorporate some new foods that I just talked about and plan some good substitutions. Number 3 is if you're visiting someone and you have a lack of control here on what you can eat, bring 1 or 2 dishes with you. Then that way you're going to know the options that you can enjoy and you don't have to feel bad about it. And then most people are going to want to participate and try these healthy alternatives anyway. Number 4 is make sure that you move that day. Try to get in maybe some resistance training before the meal and going for a walk after. 5, make sure that you eat earlier in the day and remain consistent with your normal eating routine. And then number 6 is mindset. Remember that healthy food is the reward. Healthy food gives you your vitality and your energy and the reduced pain in your body. It lets you sleep. It lets you be here with the people that you love, because that really is what Thanksgiving and the holidays are about. Food doesn't have to define the celebration. The celebration is about the people who you're with. So I want you to really focus on having gratitude this holiday season. Take stock in your harvest, write down your gratitude list, and reflect on it with all the people who are sitting there at the table with you this holiday season. So I wish you the best holiday season that you can have, and I hope that you enjoy trying some of these recipes and some of these ideas here. If you're watching this on a podcast platform, please leave a review and subscribe. And then come on over to YouTube. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I want you to click on the recipe. I urge you to click on the recipe guide below so that you can have some alternatives. And then be sure to comment in this community. I want to hear from you. What do you enjoy on Thanksgiving? What does your Thanksgiving meal look like? What substitutes are you going to try this holiday season? And maybe do you have any recipes that you can share with all of us? Because I know I would love to learn. So remember, you got to step up to make the change. Lead with your heart, train your mind, and do not negotiate with your body. See you next time.